Hey everybody, Eric Hayden here with the National Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. We have a lot of us here tonight. We want to talk a little bit about severe weather. This is the first time we've done a Facebook Live with multiple forecasters. 5 of us are at home, 1 forecaster is at the office. We've got Michael Lee, he's helping us with the Facebook Live and we'll take some of your questions. John Alardo is at the office right now doing the forecast. He's going to talk about how we actually ramp up operations during severe weather. Carl Barnes is going to talk about what you should be doing now in terms of preparation, where you should go, how you should get your warnings. Charlie Bowen, he's going to talk about that the storms are actually happening now. And unfortunately, some of us are dealing with some severe weather across the deep south. And then Tom Lanka, he's a forecaster. He's going to talk about how some parts of our area are usually more at risk because they're farther away from the ocean. I'm going to get started. You can help us out though. Please like and share this Facebook Live. I see that we have a lot of people on our Facebook Live tonight, and that's great. But the more you like and share this, more people will see it. And we really want to get this information out into the community itself. So again, all you got to do is just hit like or share, and then other folks will see it. We're going to start with this slide really to emphasize the fact that, yes, our focus will be on some severe thunderstorms tomorrow, but everybody's going to see some wind. And some of us will see some coastal flooding. So while the focus is on thunderstorms, don't let your guard down because everybody's going to see a windy day and we will see some areas of coastal flooding. With the emphasis on severe weather, I want to go over this graphic because we talk a lot about numbers in terms of meteorology. This is a scale that we use for a severe weather day. It's from our friends at the Storm Prediction Center. It goes from 1 to 5. Tomorrow, the whole area is under at least a slight risk. That's a 2 out of 5. But some of us are under an enhanced threat. That's a 3 out of 5. So when you see enhanced, when you want to put that in perspective, that's a 3 out of 5. That's not something we see every year here in Eastern North Carolina. So kind of, keep paying attention to what's going on tomorrow. It's not your run-of-the-day thunderstorms that we anticipate. This is a severe weather outlook. Again, that darker shading of orange, those areas are under the enhanced threat. That means numerous severe thunderstorms are possible. That's our highest risk area. Nobody is out of the woods though. The rest of the area is under a slight threat, which does mean severe thunderstorms are possible. The winds are very strong in the environment tomorrow, so any thunderstorms could bring down even stronger winds. So we're concerned with gusty, damaging winds. We could also have some tornadoes as that line of thunderstorms moves through our area. In addition, in the very strongest of the storms, we could have some large hail. I want to talk a little bit about timing. We're going to see some showers. We're already seeing some of those tonight. We could have some thunderstorms first thing in the morning. This map is not about that. This map is about when we expect that line of severe weather to move across our area. Roughly between 10 and 1 o'clock, places like Greenville and Kinston and Jacksonville. As you head toward the coast, over toward Morehead City and the Outer Banks, probably looking more like 1 to 4 o'clock. Again, that's the timing for just the severe weather, the main threat. You will see some showers and thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow itself. We mentioned the severe weather. Everybody's going to see a windy day. If you're one of those people that has a light trash can out, sometimes you have to put down your basketball hoop because it blows over. Tomorrow, that's that type of day. 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Keep in mind, those are tropical storm force winds. So that's pretty gusty. And for you folks on the Outer Banks, you could have some wind speeds up toward 50 to 55 miles per hour. With all of that wind, it's coming out of the south, and that's going to really push the water, especially across the Pamlico Sound to the north. We're kind of used to this on the Outer Banks, but if you live on over toward Rodanthe, northward, up toward Manio, the sound side could see some elevated water levels. We're talking 1 to 2 feet above normally dry ground. Places like Manio, the waterfront, any low-lying areas, those are the areas that could see some flooding. Again, 1 to 2 feet. Please be prepared for that because all that water is being pushed northward thanks to our southern winds. The other thing we're watching, and then we'll turn it over to Carl here in a second about preparedness, it's going to be a nasty day on the water. Nobody should be on the water. Very, very rough seas. We're expecting waves near the beach in the surf zone of 5 to 14 feet. So with all that water piling up on the beaches, we do expect some major beach erosion. And unfortunately, where those beaches or the dunes are compromised, we could see some flooding in those areas. So that's kind of an overview of what we expect tomorrow. We're going to turn things over to Carl, and he's going to talk about what you can do, because you might hear about this severe weather and think, okay, I know it's coming. Where can I go in my home? How can I get warnings? How can I know more about this? And Carl's going to talk a little bit more about ways to get warnings and places you can go in your home.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Yeah, appreciate everyone getting on across Eastern North Carolina and really across the country, I'm sure. So Eric talked about how we do have that severe weather threat for tomorrow. So we're going to be in the office at the Weather Service issuing warnings for any storms that we think are going to have the potential to cause damage, whether it be severe thunderstorms or tornadoes. So you need to make sure that you have a way to get that warning. So what we have here is a very appropriate graphic for Easter. We have multiple ways to get a warning, and there's a few that I really want to focus on. First and foremost, the no weather radio. That is the best way to get a warning. As soon as we issue that warning, it goes straight to your weather radio, and you can set it up to make a tone to get your attention. Also, local TV and radio. They're really good at relaying that as soon as it comes out, and especially if there are tornadoes going on, it's a very reliable way to get that information. Finally, on your smartphone. So there's multiple weather apps that'll have that information for you, that you can actually get push notifications. I believe all of our local stations have weather apps that are able to do that, as well as there's many national weather apps where you can do that. And then if we do issue a tornado warning, you need to have these wireless emergency alerts set to alert you on your phone. So if you go into the settings of your phone, make sure these wireless emergency alerts are turned on for any weather alerts. That's going to be a really good way to get a tornado warning quickly. So once you get that warning, what do? If you're in your home, which since there's the shelter in place, everyone is most likely going to be in their home, you're going to want to get to the bottom floor and an interior room. The goal is to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And this is any debris or anything like that. This is going to increase your chances of that not reaching you wherever you're at. If you live in an apartment or something like that, maybe you can't get to the bottom floor, just go to the most interior room you can find as quickly as possible when you get that warning. And one other thing I do want to cover, mobile, or sometimes called manufactured homes, are never a safe place to be during a tornado. So if you do live in one, or you're planning on being in one tomorrow, you really need to make plans to find some alternative place to stay tomorrow, or be ready, because if there is a tornado, that is not the place you want to be. There is really no chance for safety if you're in a mobile home. So you need to have some kind of other plan for tomorrow and be watching the weather really closely. And right now is the time to be thinking about and making that plan for tomorrow, because if you wait until a warning is issued, it's going to be too late. So please, right now, while you're watching this, be thinking about what you're going to be doing tomorrow if a tornado warning is issued. And with that, I can go ahead and throw it back to Eric.
All right, Carl, thank you so much. I'm going to toss it over to Charlie. Before you get started, Charlie, that was great information, Carl. For those that are just joining us, please comment below. Let us know where you live. And if you have any questions, we're going to do a Q&A at the end. If you're just joining us and you missed the start, don't worry, it's recorded and you can see it from the beginning. So Charlie's going to talk about how we're already seeing active weather. Charlie, it looks like the whole state of Mississippi, most of Alabama under a tornado watch. So it's already happening, unfortunately, for folks. Tell us about what's going on right now.
Right, thanks, Eric. We've got low pressure systems scattered all the way from Michigan all the way down to Arkansas, and we see a couple of different frontal boundaries scattered across the country, and that's basically where all this active weather is taking place. About an hour ago, there was an EF4, EF5 tornado indicated on radar in Mississippi. A couple tornado warnings just expired in Mississippi and Alabama. It's not something to mess around with. This is a severe system that's going to be moving through. And if we move through time here on the National Weather Service forecast map, if we look at this, we see multiple boundaries setting up and then moving through our area sometime early tomorrow, overnight tonight and early tomorrow. So this is an ongoing event. The weather is already happening. Everyone at the operations center in Morehead cities, they're going to be looking in this area over here around Tennessee, South Carolina, Western North Carolina to see what's going to be coming and affecting us here in Eastern North Carolina.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. We're going to let Charlie go for a second. I'm going to turn on John. John Alardo is a senior forecaster with the Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. And John has been with us for a while, and with all our active weather, he's been through hurricanes and severe weather. We're all at home, John. Of course, with the current situation, you're at work right now. I thought it would be kind of neat for folks to hear about how the Weather Service ramps up as far as staffing, or what are you doing in the office? I know you were working with the schedule earlier, kind of, going over what we're going to do tomorrow. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, first, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter that's listening to this broadcast today. Yeah, like you said, Eric, we've had time. We're use this time to prepare for what's looks like it'll be an active day tomorrow. So what we've done today is we've called in extra people to come in tomorrow to help us with the storm system, and we're assigned each of those people a specific duty to do. So most of us will be like working radar or working with emergency management and other media, so we can get the warnings out and the weather information out. We're not only just concerned with severe weather, like you mentioned, there's a chance for some flooding along the Outer Banks. So we're going to be monitoring that situation and getting that information to the people along the Outer Banks. So tomorrow, just the bottom line is tomorrow is a day you really need to pay attention to the weather to make sure that you can get the latest forecasts and warnings if we do issue them, because it's one of those days where it looks like all the ingredients that you need to get a severe weather are coming together, unfortunately, across our area. So we're getting ready now, and we want you to be ready tomorrow in case the weather does get bad.
That's great, John. And with all your experience, can you talk briefly how you divvy all that up, specifically with the radar? If we have storms all over Eastern North Carolina like we anticipate, do you have teams of people on radar? Is it just one person? How do you all do that?
Well, usually when we expect a big event like this, we'll have at least 2 people, sometimes more on radar, because there could be multiple storms that are producing severe weather. So this way we make sure that something doesn't get missed, that we could keep on top of the weather, get really timely warnings out with as much lead time as we possibly can. So we'll split that up and we'll coordinate amongst each other in the office tomorrow while we're watching the radar.
Well, John, really appreciate it. He's working hard at work, so we'll let you go. I know you and Morgan have some work to finish up for tonight. So we appreciate your time, and I hope you reinforce and re-emphasize with everybody that we have a lot of people at the office. When the weather gets bad, we ramp up in terms of staffing to serve you 24/7. So, John, thank you very much. I'll turn your camera off here in a minute. We're going to switch things over to forecaster Tom Lanka. Tom is going to talk a little bit about how certain areas in our forecast area are more prone to severe weather. It doesn't mean that every single time they get the most severe weather. It doesn't mean those folks on the coast always escape it. But Tom's going to talk a little bit about how the farther inland you live, the farther you are away from the ocean, you tend to have a higher risk for severe weather. And we may see that pan out tomorrow. So it's all yours there, Tom.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks, Eric. So this first slide here I want to show you is it's the probability of severe weather throughout the spring and summer months. And one thing you can notice here is it begins in April. Severe weather is chances are fairly low, but you can see they ramp up quite a bit. And one thing that's consistent is the probabilities go up throughout the year inland, especially. A little bit less on the coast. This next slide is showing the tornado tracks. This is a climatology, so this is basically all the way from 1962 through 2011 where we had tornadoes across Eastern North Carolina. And these brighter colors, the pinks and the reds and the yellows, are EF2s and greater. So you can see those longer tracks. That means
so everybody knows that all of us on the camera right now are at home. So like a lot of you, we're teleworking and doing different things. So is that Miko? I think that's Tom's dog. So again, it's real world here. We're not all at the office. So it's almost bedtime. So if you hear some kids yelling, that'll be my house. You all good there, Tom? Oh. All right, so I think Tom is going to take care of his dog. But what Tom was showing, and I'll kind of bring it up, and if Tom jumps back in, we can always get him. But he was kind of just showing how certain areas have a higher risk, and he's starting to show you some of the maps across our area. So I'll kind of jump in as Tom comes back we'll let him come back on. So I'm going to switch the view over to myself. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to switch it over to me. Okay, so we're going to leave where Tom left off, and everybody should be able to see this. He left off talking about the severe weather probabilities, how they're kind of a little bit farther inland. I'll go to the next slide if you're all set, Tom. I've got my screen shared, so if you just want to lead me through it, we picked up where you left off.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. It is the
Yeah,
real
so
world.
just talking about the climatology, we noticed the stronger and longer track tornadoes appear to be inland across eastern North Carolina. There's a good reason for that. So to supply the warm, moist air, you have to have southerly flow. So what happens is our coastline is mostly east to west oriented. So we get the stronger winds coming onshore, and the water is actually fairly cold right now. It's only about 60 degrees or even a little bit lower just off the Crystal Coast. So we get a little bit more stable, not completely stable, but slightly more stable air being drawn across the coastal areas. And the more unstable air tends to be more inland. So as you can see with this graphic that Eric is showing, the red areas generally around 17, Highway 17, up towards Columbia stand the better chance of seeing a greater severe threat. Again, the coast is not clear, we're not saying that, but this is typically where we see our higher chances for severe weather.
All right, Tom, I really appreciate it. So again, he just emphasized this is just our average in our area. It doesn't mean that those folks in blue weren't going to see severe weather. It just means that the closer you live to the coast, the more likely it is. Sometimes storms actually fall apart, and that's certainly not a bad thing. Everybody's at risk, but climatologically speaking, and that enhanced area would favor areas a little bit farther inland. So we're all still here. John is working hard, so we let him go, but Mike is here. He's really the man behind the scenes, and appreciate his help. Otherwise, this would not work. So really appreciate Mike doing this and making it look very professional. Carl, myself, Tom, and Charlie are here to take your questions, and Mike's going to kind of feed them to us as you go in. If you're just joining us, you've watched this presentation. If you have any questions, just ask on your mobile device or your computer, and we'll kind of scroll through the questions and see if we have anything. And we'll take a couple, and then we'll kind of wrap things up here.
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that, Mike. And see in Facebook Live, we also have a similar question from Steve. And obviously, Weather Service in Morehead City, we cover a large portion of eastern North Carolina and a lot of coastal communities. So this is a real concern for us. And I think that the main thing that I want people to focus on is kind of what I mentioned about just try to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So obviously you do, beach houses are understructured or have the blowaway structure underneath the house. So that does kind of prevent you from going to the lowest level, but you want to get to the lowest sturdy level and put as many walls between you, sinking primarily around the perimeter and above you as possible. So obviously that vacated area under the house does present a challenge, but the lowest livable level in your house and as central as possible, so you have as much protection from the outside as possible.
That's great, Carl. And maybe, we talk about preparation for severe weather. You don't want to wait until the warning comes out and where should you go. You start thinking about that now. And maybe if you have a neighbor that has a brick home that's a one-story, maybe you have that conversation with the neighbor and you go to their house as part of your plan. So that's another possibility. Yeah, we do have a chance for hail, especially in some of the stronger storms. Some of it could be large. I'm gonna, if anybody else wants to chime in, I'm gonna pull up the Storm Prediction Center. It's a great website. The men and women out in Norman, Oklahoma, they're really the experts on severe weather. It's kind of like the sister office to the Hurricane Center in Miami. So those folks issue outlooks and also coordinate with the local offices for tornado watches and thunderstorm watches. So I'm gonna put up the risk for tomorrow, and I'll get over to the hail threat. So we have we're in the 15% probability for hail. So any of the worst storms could produce some large hail. It's not to think that we're not concerned with hail, but the potential for wind is 30%, and the potential for tornado is high as well. So the higher risks are wind and tornado threat, and the wind especially, because we're just going to be windy regardless of thunderstorms. So tomorrow's going to be a very windy day. And what thunderstorms do is they can bring down those stronger winds from higher up in the atmosphere. So wind and tornado threat is higher, but yes, we could see some hail. And for those that are just joining us, Mike's kind of scrolling through the feed. If you have any questions, please ask us. If you just caught this and you really like what you see, it's going to be recorded and posted. We'll probably pin it to the top of the page, so you can view this at any time. So if you missed the beginning, that's where we kind of went over the timing and what to expect. So I know not to put Mr. Tom on the spot, but Mr. Tom was here. Carl, Charlie, Mike, and myself were not. But Tom is awesome at severe weather. He's the kind of meteorologist that he's off today. Actually, I think most of us are off. We're volunteering to do this. But Tom was texting me earlier and was talking a little bit about 2011. So we don't like to compare too much because we don't want people to think it's an A to B analogy. But Tom, why don't you talk a little bit about what you were texting me about earlier about the instability being a little less this time, and just how it stacks up, because you were on radar. Were you back in 2011?
I was actually off that day, but I was still very familiar with the event. I was in Pender County at my dad's house. But yeah, it's very close to the same exact time of year. It was more unstable. We're looking about quite a bit more unstable inland, but the parameters, what causes the spin in the atmosphere is very similar. So while we can't say that this will be less of a threat, that's absolutely not what we're saying. But like I said, the conditions that cause the potential spin in the atmosphere, tornadoes to form, are still very much real. So we just have to be prepared for the worst.
I appreciate that, Tom. And for those that are interested, it's probably one of our more popular websites. If you go to our website and under the top or the top hand side of the page, you can click on past events. Chris Collins and other forecasters really put this together. So this is the 2011 event that Tom is talking about. And for those that have lived in the community more than 9 years, you probably remember this very vividly. So unfortunately, we had some really bad severe weather, including some tornadoes in our area back in April 16th of 2011. So again, if you go to weather.gov /Newport or weather.gov /Morehead City, you'll get to our page. And under the climate section, if you go down to the bottom, it says significant event reviews. A lot of good information on this page. If you're not watching from the local area, just go to weather.gov, click on your part of the country that you live in, and your local office has the same information. So weather.gov should be your resource for weather information. Might just be one. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll say one, Mike, that I saw. There's one from David that asked, will this be on Twitter as well? Yes, as a delay. We're going to see how the recording turned out, and we're going to post this to YouTube and Twitter if everything worked out. So it's about 7:25 now, so give us about a half an hour, and we'll try to upload that to the other social media channels. All right, we'll show that again and probably one more and then we'll wrap things up because I know some of us have to get ready to get into work tomorrow. So we're ready for the active weather. So Lacey, I appreciate the question. 10 to 1 o'clock, especially the western part of our area. Keep in mind, we're going to see showers and storms tonight and tomorrow morning. This is specifically a line of storms that's going to sweep through that we're keeping our eye on. Wind damage and tornadoes along the line itself. 10 to 1, places like Williamston, Greenville, Kinston, Snow Hill, Jacksonville, over toward Warsaw, Kenansville, those types of areas. As you head closer to the coast from Morehead City up to Havelock, maybe Nags Head, Buxton, Rodanthe, Manio, those types of locations, talking 1 to 4. And again, specifically, that's for the highest threat of severe weather. And keep in mind, if you're just joining us, just scroll back to the beginning once this is posted, and you'll see a much more condensed version of what we anticipate tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I can take that too. So that is a very difficult situation. I really want to stress that under no circumstances is a mobile manufactured modular home a safe place to be in a tornado because of the chance that the tornado picks up the entire structure and throws it. Especially if it's a significant tornado. I mean, we saw the EF2 that happened in Emerald Isle, and we had several manufactured homes right there on the beach. That was with the arrival of Dorian, it lifted several homes off the ground and threw them, in some cases, hundreds of feet. They were anchored in and it still lifted them up. So I really want to stress that, if you have any other option, almost any other option in a sturdy structure is going to be better than being in a module home. And I really want to leave it at that because I don't want to give any indication that it's a good option to be there. And I'll expand on this because I saw some other questions also related to safe places. Someone asked if being in the bathroom, in a downstairs bathroom is a good place. That's a great place. That's actually right behind this wall right here is my safe space here in the house, the safe place during a tornado where I'm going to go and take my family in there. And that is a bathroom. So that's a great place to be. And if you can hunker down in the corner, if you have a bathtub, get in the bathtub, any sturdy things that you can get around you. And someone else asked if you live on the top floor of an apartment complex, is that okay? Again, try to get to a lower level. Maybe if you have friends on the lower level, maybe communicate with them and see if it's okay if you go down there if need be. But again, the key is just within what you can possibly achieve, as many walls between you and the outside as possible.
So Richland is a little higher than some of our areas right along the coast itself because you're over toward Duplin County. You're one of those inland areas. So I'll go back to the map. I'm pretty sure you're in that enhanced threat area. So yes, you could see tornadoes. Anybody in our area could, but your locations, Richland's, for those not familiar, that's out just north of Jacksonville. So in this area is one of the higher levels of wind threat and tornado threat, 3 out of 5 on the scale. So you could certainly see some. As we wrap things up, Mike, I want to probably put a close to it and just end with what Carl was talking about, ways to get multiple ways to get warnings, because that's very important tomorrow. We know that the severe weather, we're anticipating it, but he stressed this in the beginning that you should have multiple ways to get those warnings. If you're going to bed tonight, leave your notifications on. Don't turn your ringer off. Make sure you have batteries in your weather radio. As you wake up in the morning, watch your local TV station, listen to your local radio partners. Pay attention to what's going on so that you can be safe. And then you can always go to our website, weather.gov. /Newport, and you can see what's going on forecast wise. And at the top of the page, we usually have some type of document together, a briefing. In this case, if you just click on the top link, you can get the briefing that we just went over. So a lot of information, but just pay attention tomorrow. Think about where you would go tonight. If you're prepared, weather is something to be respected, but if you know where to go, just like your fire drill, and you have smoke alarms and you know where to go outside for your meeting place, you'll be okay. But knowing where to go and knowing how to get warnings, those are very, very crucial things. That's what you have control over.
Can I add one more thing to that? What you said is exactly right. And one more thing I want to add to that I might not have stressed enough before. When you get that warning, act immediately. Don't get the warning and then go look out your window and see if you can see a tornado coming, or start calling friends to see if they see a tornado. Please take action immediately, because these storms tomorrow are going to be very quickly evolving. Tornadoes have the potential to form very quickly, and we'll be there issuing warnings as soon as we see them. But in some cases, it's hard to get a lot of lead time on that warning before a tornado arrives at a certain location. So please, when you get that warning, act immediately to get into your safe place.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody joining us. I think we're going to wrap things up here, Mike, because we're getting, I think we're over about 20 minutes. So I know some of us have to get up early to go into the office and start getting on radar and things like that. So we really appreciate everybody joining us. Again, please like and share this video so more people see it, especially that information toward the beginning. As always, you can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Just search NWS Morehead City. We hope everybody's safe tomorrow, and we will talk to you later. Have a great night, everybody.